Hi everyone, welcome back to the Etymon Project. Today we're going to be going over another problem from 2024 round 1 of NACLO. So yeah, it's called Happy Birthday, and let's just get started. Okay, so this problem is about the Ewe language, and as it says at the top, there's names in Ewe that are connected to the day that they were born, and they give you some examples of days and the names that could be associated with that day. So, yeah, we're gonna try to look for some patterns in these days and names, but first let's look at what the first question is. So, on your answer sheets, indicate whether the name below would typically be female or a male name. So yeah, we can just look at which kind of names are male names and which kind of names are female names. And I'm noticing that pretty much all of the male names start with K. So we can kind of assume that if a name starts with K, it's going to be a male. And then for the females, a lot of the A names are females, like these. So that will be kind of our basic rule. And then there's two other exceptions, I guess. There's two names that start with Y that are both female and male. So we don't really know which one is which from just the Y. But for the K and A, I think those are pretty hard set patterns. So we can just go ahead and write female, male, female, male, and female. So that first problem is pretty simple. And if we move on to the next one, so they give us some dates and some names, and we have to figure out which one can match with which. So in order to do that, I guess we can kind of go through and look for patterns in the dates and the names. So I didn't mention, they also give us this sheet, which is pretty helpful. It just gives us I guess the days laid out, which makes me think that it might have something to do with the days of the week. Otherwise, if it was just about the numbers of the days or something like that, they could have just given us the numbers rather than the days. But yeah, I guess this would be a lot easier if you have both in front of you, in person. But because I'm doing this virtually, it's going to be a little bit harder to go back and forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just write each of these names under each of the dates. I'll just go through January 7th, January 9th, write each of the names under. And since this would take a lot less time in person, I'm just going to cut to when it's done. So yeah. Okay, so I think I added in all of the names, and we have both January and February. So now let's go through and see if we can find any patterns. And like I said, I'm kind of guessing they're going to be related to the days of the week, because why would they give us these calendars otherwise? And as you can see, if you look at the columns, there's a lot of similarities between the names that are in each column. Thursday jumps out right away because there's only these Y names here, so I guess we can just write that down as a rule, Thursday equals Y. If we look at the others though, they all seem kind of similar at first, but if you look at the endings, I guess Saturday right away, we can see there's this MI here and this MI here. So Saturday equals MI. And it's kind of like that for the others too. We can look at Tuesday, they all end in LA, so Tuesday, LA, there, and there. Monday is also similar. They don't have exactly the same ending, but they do have this kind of DZO pattern, right here and right here. So we can add that into our list, Monday. And then Sunday, it's also not exactly the same, but they do have an SI here. And then this is SU, which is close enough. So we can just write Sunday equals, I guess, SI/SU. Okay, for Wednesday and Friday, we don't have too much data. We kind of just have one for Wednesday and none for Friday. So for Wednesday, we can kind of just assume for now, it's probably KU. We don't know for sure though. And then Friday, we don't really have any information. But yeah, we can use these to solve the problem up there. And let me see if I can kind of copy paste it and bring it up. Okay, so now that we have these rules posted in, let's try to figure out what days of the week each of these like 6 dates are. And we can just go down and January 10th, January 13th, January 16th, 10, 13, 16, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday. And then we have 26, 29, and February 8th. So 26, 29, and the 8th. So Friday, Monday, Thursday. Okay, now let's see which of our rules will apply to these names. So I think the obvious one is the Thursday. The Yao is the only one with a Y, so we can just match those right away. I guess I can write like a C to make it a little easier. And then for other patterns, I guess we can see this DZO that we found in Monday, so that probably matches up with the Monday over here, which is V, so let's just write in a D right there. For the BLA, that's also very similar to the Tuesday that we had, so let's add an F for number 3 and kind of cross them off as we go. For the MI, that was Saturday, so we can add that to 2E. And then for the KU, we weren't sure about that, but there was at least one in Wednesday, so we can kind of assume that that makes sense. That aligns with the rest of the pattern, so I guess this will be a B. And then the last one is the one that we don't have any data on, but it goes with Friday, so that's good. We now have like something that relates to Friday, which is a good data point for maybe another problem. Okay, so moving on to 3, we have to figure out on which day a child named Kofi could have been born. And FI is not in our list of rules here, which makes me think it could be our last day that we don't have. It could be Friday. And that actually makes sense when we consider that the Afua name up here was a Friday, and the FU-FI combo seems to be like a recurring pattern. It's like over here too. So let's try to find which of these days is a Friday. We have 12, 18, and 23. So 12 is a Friday, so that's gotta be it. So we can just circle that. And then let's just add to our list of rules, like Friday can be FI/FU. Okay, for number 4, we have to figure out which of these names could be given to someone born on February 5th. And then we have this DZO, the FI, and the KU that we have patterns for, so we should know all of these. So now we just need to figure out which day February 5th is, and it is going to be a Monday. So for Mondays, we have the DZO, so that means that the answer is going to be A again. Okay, and for the last one, we have this piece of information that the word gabe means day, and we need to translate these words into English. So as you can see, these both have the word gabe in them, and then for the others, they both start with this kind of stem that we have in our list of rules for the days. So it's very likely that Dezo is just going to also mean Monday. And Fi is going to mean Friday, because that's our rule for Friday. And yeah, that's the problem. I hope you guys enjoyed. This one was actually pretty fun. I feel like it's fun to kind of decode it and try to find the dates that are correct. And yeah, it's also pretty satisfying when you figure it out. I wouldn't say it's the most difficult, but it's definitely a great way to get started on some of these fun problems that are like not necessarily just translating words, but also figuring out like cultural or like linguistic, I don't know, traditions that people have, like these birthdays and names. It's kind of cool. So yeah, as always, I hope you enjoyed, and let me know if you want to see any other problems. Thank you so much.